Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker, and I welcome the opportunity to update the House on the reforms Flood Re are announcing today with support of this Government. These changes will ensure that Flood Re remains fair, sustainable and focused on those who need it the most, while supporting a transition to a more resilient insurance market by 2039. Flood risk unites members across this House. We all recognise the devastating impact flooding has on people and communities and the importance of having access to affordable insurance. That is why this Government has put a record amount of investment into flood protections and simplified the funding rules. This year alone, we unlocked £1.4 billion to enhance flood resilience across England, funding more than 600 projects and better protecting more than 70,000 properties from the devastating impacts of flooding. But despite this record investment, flooding is an ever-increasing risk. Flood Re was established to manage a transition to prices that better reflect underlying flood risk and promote affordability and availability of insurance. And since its launch, Flood Re has been a big success and is a strong example of government and industry working together to address systemic risk, a partnership that started to be strengthened under a Labour government after the 2007 floods. Now, Flood Re works by receiving a subsidy paid for by households that buy insurance. That money is then used to purchase insurance, so households who wouldn't be able to get insurance in an open market have affordable premiums. But the context in which it operates has changed. Rising claims, higher reinsurance costs and more properties being identified at risk are placing increased pressure on the scheme. We now have a perverse system where money collected from all insurance customers, from all parts of the country, from all income brackets, is flowing to the richest households in the country. That is not fair and it needs to change. In the last 3 of the 4 years, Flood Re has spent more repairing homes in the most expensive council tax bands of G and H, which make up less than 4% of homes in UK homes, than it has spent in repairing homes in bands A and B, which make up around 45% of homes. And an example shows why change is necessary. In 2025, a property near a river was flooded, resulting in a claim cost to Flood Re of over £3 million. The property had very limited flood resilience measures in place, and the claim covered extensive restoration costs, including a quad garage, an indoor swimming pool, a jacuzzi and gym, a music room and den, a machinery storage unit, an outdoor AstroTurf paddle court, and a 5-a-side football pitch. It is of course right that all properties are insured, but without reform to Flood Re, we will continue to have a system where the average and low-income households are subsidising flood insurance for the richest households in the country. That is why reforming Flood Re is needed, not to set a new policy direction, but to restore it to its original purpose. And that's what we're doing. So first, Flood Re will work with insurers to reform its premium model so support is better targeted. Flood Re will aim to make premiums as fair as possible across different council tax bands, regions and areas. Second, Flood Re will introduce a cap on the claims insurers can pass to Flood Re, limiting payouts to an agreed level, with insurance companies, of course, covering the remainder. And that will be worked out with Flood Re and insurers. And third, I have spoken to people who have lost everything through flooding and been unable to afford contents insurance. So I am delighted that Flood Re is more than halving the premiums it charges insurers for contents-only insurance for the 45% of homes in council tax bands A and B to £25 a year from April 2027. This government is restoring fairness. We are making insurance affordable and we are helping with the cost of living pressure. And finally, Flood Re will improve efficiency, make a better use of its resources, reduce reliance on costly reinsurance while maintaining financial resilience. But to protect all homes from ongoing flood risk, we need more than just flood insurance and large flood defences. We need individual homes to become more flood resilient. That is why Flood Re will also work with insurers and lenders to introduce flood performance certificates, helping households better understand their flood risk and ensuring that if they take actions to make their homes more resilient, it is reflected in the cost of their premiums. And this builds on the work of the recommendations in the Flood Ready report. Flood-Re will also strengthen incentives for Build Back Better, a UK home insurance sector initiative which, instead of simply restoring a home to the condition exactly as it was before, allows an additional £10,000 as part of the insurance claim to improve the flood resilience of the home. These reforms will be implemented from 2028, with the reduction in contents premium for bands A and B taking effect from April 27. And Flood-Re will keep the scheme's eligibility criteria under review, including how it applies to leaseholders. So under this government, more homes are better protected from flooding than they were when we came into government. Our country will become more resilient to flooding as homes are incentivised to take action with flood performance certificates, and the 45% of people living in average and low-income households will now be able to afford to protect their homes from the devastation of flooding. This is the difference a Labour government makes, and I commend this statement to the House.